video to go over your assignment from yesterday. So you had to find the area of the triangle for exercise 6. And so we should all know that the area formula for a triangle is area equals 1/2 base times height. So 14 is our base, 22 is our height. Okay, so half of 14 gives us 7. Okay, and then I have to multiply by 22 in order to get my answer. And if I do that quickly on the side here, I will get an answer of 154 yards squared. Find the area of a shelf that's in the shape of a triangle, so you know automatically, right, that you're gonna do 1/2 base times height, and just plug in the numbers that it gives you. So the base is 36 and the height is 18, and I know that I'm gonna have to also multiply by 1/2 too. So what I'm gonna do is I'm gonna take half of 18, just because in my mind finding half of 18 is just a little bit easier. I know half of 18 is 9. And then I'm just going to keep my 36, and then all I'm going to do is multiply 36 times 9 to get my answer. So 9 times 6 is 54, 9 times 3 is 27, plus 5 gives us 32. So your answer is 324 centimeters squared. Find the area of the triangle, so 1/2 base times height. So my base is 9 and my height is 20. Well, then I'm gonna have to half something, and I'm way too tired to half 9, so I'm simply gonna half 20. I know half of 20 is 10. Okay, keep my 9, and then I just simply multiply across to get 90. Now we are finding the area of trapezoids. Okay, so here's our formula. It looks like a crazy formula, but it's actually really easy. All you're doing is just adding base 1 plus base 2 and then multiplying that by your height. Just do the first problem together. So area equals 1/2 times base 1 plus base 2 times height. And we know our base 1 is 5. Okay, our base 2 is 7. And I'm just gonna put my parentheses in there to remind me to multiply. And then I'm gonna bring down my 1/2. So 7 plus 5 gives us 12. So I know I'm gonna have to do 12 times 4. I know is 48, right? And then if I go ahead and multiply that out, 1/2 times 48, half of 48 gives me 24. But I don't necessarily have to do it that way either, right? If I was left with just this, right? I could look at this and say, okay, well, I can half 12, right? Because I know half of 12 is 6. And then I can just simply multiply by 4 to still give me 24. Exercise 9. So I've got my base 1 is 13.5, my base 2 is 7.5, and my height is 10. So I will go ahead and write the formula out. Okay, so base 1 is 13.5, base 2 is 7.5, and my height is 10. And then I'll bring down my 1/2. So 13.5 plus 7.5, if you need to, just go ahead and go 21. I'm gonna bring everything down. And I can see what I have to do here. So I have a couple choices. I can simply multiply 21 times 10 to give me 210. That's pretty easy. I can do that in my head. And then I just half 210, right? When I multiply it by 1/2. The other thing that I could do is I could half 10 to give me 5, and then just multiply 21 times 5. I could also half 21, but I'm way too tired to do that, so I'm not going to do that. What I'm going to do is I'm actually just going to multiply this out. So I know 21 times 10 gives me 210, but I also know that I have to multiply that by 1/2. And when you're multiplying by 1/2, you know that you're just simply splitting the number in half, right? So half of 210 is 105. I think it's important for you to understand because there are definitely some common errors that students sometimes make. So if you read this, it says students need to count the grid lines correctly. Often they will count the points versus the segments between the points. That simply means is all you're going to do is count the grid lines that are shaded in. So I know I need to find my base 1. I need to find my base 2. The way that I'm going to do that is I'm just going to count how many grid lines are covered. Actually, let me change my pen color. So I've got 1 grid line covered, 2 grid line covered. So I know my base 1, I'll call it, is 2. Now I'm going to count down here. So I've got 1 grid line, 2 grid line, 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6. So my base 2 is 6. Now I'm going to come over here and I'm going to figure out what my height is. Count my grid lines. So I've got 1, 2, 3, 4. 1/2, right, times the height times 6 gives us 8, right? Half of 4, or in other words, 1/2 times 4, right, gives us 2. 2 times 8 gives us 16. So that is our answer, 16. And the unit is inches, and we always square our unit when we're finding area. Please let Mrs. Donahue and I know if you have any questions. Take care.